In this video, we'll cover how to use V-Ray fur. Before we begin working with fur, it's important to note a couple of things. First, in order to view fur, the garment must be viewed or rendered using V-Ray. Second, because the fur is added as an extra effect on top of the base material, all existing PBR maps outside of the diffuse map are ignored. The diffuse map serves as the base of the fur and determines the color of the fur strands. In this file, we have a leopard Oliver print, and we add a plaid print and a solid color to see how the fur will interact. With that known, we can begin adding fur to our garment. First, we enable the fur option by selecting our material and checking Use Fur. Now, we see all the options available for configuring the fur properties. In the drop-down, we have several presets that can be used. Using our V-Ray preview, we can see this preset in action. If none of the presets match the specific fur type we're looking for, we can proceed to create our own preset. To do this, we simply add the sliders for the fur as we see fit. Before we get into adjusting the parameters, there are a couple of helpful tips when working with fur in the V-Ray preview. The load time for the V-Ray window is directly related to the size of the 3D window. This means that if we decrease the size of the 3D window, the V-Ray preview will load faster. When working with fur, it can be difficult to see the behavior of an individual strand. We can reduce the fur density to 1 in order to have better visibility of our adjustments. Now we can begin adjusting the fur properties. The first slider controls the length of the fur strands in your selected units. The next slider controls the thickness of the fur strands. The third slider determines how upright the fur stands. When the value is set to 0, the fur will stand straight up. The bend slider controls how much bend is in the fur strands. The taper slider controls how sharp the fur looks at the tip of the strand. At a value of 1, we see a sharp point, and at a value of 0, there's no sharpness. The density slider that we adjusted initially controls how densely the strands are grouped together. We recommend keeping this value below 300. The next two sliders work in tandem to create the curl effect. The curl effect produces a more circular or looped effect to the fur. After setting all of the above values, we can control variation allowed for each of these values using the sliders in the variation section. At a value of 0, there is no variation of the effect. At a value of 1, the variation is at the highest possible setting. The last section relates to the specular or shininess of the fur. As fur does not utilize the PBR maps except for the diffuse, we set the shininess value for the fur independently. Once the fur is complete, we're able to save the fur we created as our own preset. To do this, we give the fur a name and then click Save. After the fur preset has been saved, we can use the fur in other files or export the preset to share with others. In this video, you've learned the basics of fur. For more information, check out the Browseware Help Center.